Ed Sheeran, we know he just recently had that huge trial in New York. I believe it was the estate of Marvin Gaye's family or estate was suing Ed Sheeran for his song Thinking Out Loud, saying that there were structural elements of it that sounded just like Let's Get It On. But thankfully, Thursday, he was found not liable in the suit. Ed Sheeran wrote in a statement shared with People magazine, "I am unbelievably frustrated that baseless claims like this are allowed to go to court at all. We've spent the last 8 years talking about 2 songs with dramatically different lyrics, melodies, and 4 chords, which are also different and used by songwriters every day all over the world."
Well, all right, this is my question, because like in every interview, particularly recently, he seems to be another preemptive strike, where he talks about how he's a ginger, mate, and that he's always been weird looking, and he's got now apparently he had like an eating disorder or some shit, and it seems as if he's like he makes it I'll use another British thing, he takes the piss out of himself before we can. And so I don't know if that's a tactic or if he's really that self-effacing, but in every interview he sort of like really makes fun of himself before others can.
I do not know where this hate is coming from, Bill. This vitriol.
It just happened. I don't know either, but I'm flush with it.
He put out a statement like a few months ago saying that he is not opposed to recording a death metal album. And like 2 weeks later, the death metal band Cradle of Filth put out a statement saying they are not opposed to putting out a painfully shitty pop album.
Why don't you make Getty giving him shit for all the filth he's giving him?
No. That's because it's funny. And Don didn't say it. He's just
that was an accurate quote.
So in pop music, there are a lot of songs that are similar, and I read an article once or saw a video where someone kind of explained it. You know, generally all of the songs that are chart toppers follow similar chord progressions, and they follow this because it's easy to get stuck in your ear.
Yeah.
And that's why why they become popular, and that's why they're all kind of similar. So Don, I'm curious, in metal, is there a similar thing? I want to say not. There's more chaos to it. But are there certain songs that someone's been like, this sounds a lot like this other band's song?
Oh my God, the biggest one of all was Led Zeppelin got sued for Stairway to Heaven.
That's right.
He did?
Yeah, and that was a big case, and it went on for years and years. And if you listen to, I forget the name of the band, the other band that did it, it'll come to me. But if you listen to those A and B them, I gotta say, as much as I'd love to stick up for Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page totally ripped that beginning part, because it's all the same finger picking and all that, but somehow they convinced the judge that, hey, that's a standard thing that all musicians use. But to me, like, that excuse is it's like a comedian. Like you catch a comedian doing one of your jokes, and then they go, "Well, everybody does that joke," and it's like, then why are you doing it?
Yeah,
that's a great point. It's like, I would assume there's probably even software now that if you don't think you have heard the song or something that you've come up with, there's a way to check it. Just like you would Google an article, you could Google a sort of like a kick.
Sure. Well, you know, on your phone, you can ask, like, there's certain apps, like, what song is this? And so that's, I guess, an easy way to tell if it sounds like something else.
That's right. You could Shazam songs.
Shazam.
Yeah.
And if your song comes up on Shazam as Marvin Gaye's, you should probably switch the chords around.
Actually, that is such an easy fix. Why did I? Yeah, like anyone could just do that right away. If they're like, "Hey, this sounds like I've heard this before." It's as simple as that. That makes total sense. Well, and have you found this? I definitely feel like it's an age thing, because I used to. Everyone gets like a little earworm, and she hears me complain about this all the time. But nowadays, my earworms last for like a week, to the point where it's a mania, and I'll wake up with it and I'll go to sleep. And of course, it's never a good song. It's usually I'm sure something Ed Sheeran did, and it never was as bad as it's been now that I'm entering the twilight of my years, but I don't recall it ever being that bad when I was young. I mean, is that just me, or has that happened to you? I want Joanne to look forward to something really horrible as she gets older.
Yeah, I've had bop in my head for about the last 2 weeks.
I love that song. Get it stuck in my head.
That's a classic one.
Hanson was my first concert.
You know why? Because they didn't look threatening. Girls always like, there, thanks.
There
That's
goes
great.
another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Actually, it'll be a problem.
By the
That
way,
is-
the band what Zeppelin was called, that Flames, it was called Taurus. The band was called Taurus.
Those poor bastards. That was probably the closest they ever had to an actual.
This is Taurus.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
This is Stairway to Heaven.
That's rough stuff.
And they even said Jimmy Page had come back after seeing them play live once, and they had done that song that night in concert. So it got in his ear. Listen, Jimmy Page will be a genius no matter what. He loves Satan, so you got to respect the guy. But he totally nicked that.
Absolutely, and I almost feel like the judge was either paid off or a groupie because there's no way.
Now, Don, moving forward, do you think that this, like the legal cases, the suing for money, is going to be how musicians make their money?
Yeah.
Because now the reality is they aren't getting it from record sales. You have to either tour or do merch. If an artist is too old to tour, are they just going to be the crotchety old performer who's just suing the young people?
Yes.
Right.
Simple question, simple answer. Well, I think it's just for a long time now. The only money to be made is just on concerts.
Yeah.
Like everyone ate a big old dick during COVID.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I hate to say this about my own scene, but 90% of rock bands they're T-shirt salesmen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and also one thing, I've learned this more so from your show than anything, they're also really diversifying their portfolio. Now it's a lot of craft beers, hot sauce.
Yeah.
I'm sure
have to.
macrame is next, but which it didn't make sense. Like,
That's how they make money.
Yeah, I mean, Kiss figured that out a long time before everyone else did.
WTF is one-night relationship theory, and where did it get the audacity to alter my brain chemistry? That's quite a question.
I like this.
Earlier this week, TikToker Christina Zozulia published this doozy of a video, which, at the time of writing, has clocked nearly 500,000 views.
So unfortunately, ladies, if they're being intimate and vulnerable with you one night, that doesn't mean that they want a relationship with you for forever. Oftentimes, it's just because they have feelings too and they want to connect with a person, but not long term.
Now, admittedly, 90% of the reason I got this was I was fascinated by the sweater. But it does seem to me that this generation seems that they have new terms for something that was always it. I mean, that's not a guy. Britt, what are your thoughts?
Well, we put labels on everything. Like, you're spot on with that. Like, I've heard, like, well, I'm a sapiosexual. And I was like, what's that? And they're like, I can only be, like, sexually attracted to somebody that I have a mental connection with. And I was like, okay, congrats on not being a fucking ape. Like, I don't, like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do put labels on everything. Though, as much as she looks like a kind of girl that I would want to beat up in a shopping mall, I do agree with the knowledge that she provided, because I just got out of a situationship where it was about 2 months and it was very intense. And, all these years, all of us women have been gatekeeping our pussy and being like, I'm not going to put out, or I'm not ready to sleep. And I think she's kind of onto something. I'm not ready to, like, deal with your fucking feelings, because, like, she's right. Like, this is a thing. I hate that it's, like, taking off on TikTok, but, like, back in the day, men used to use women for sex, and now men are 100% using women for, like, filler girlfriend needs.
Or
Like-
see, that's fact. I did not know this. Also, I have to ask. I'm going to say this before Don does, although Don might know what it means. I don't. What's a situationship?
It's wasting your time.
Oh, okay.
You're like
Funny,
going
buddy.
through the motions of a relationship, like very much so, often to this TikTok ding dong's point, like he's initiating it as well. But like he'll never so then you end up like, once it ends, you end up being like, well, it wasn't really a fling, but like we definitely didn't date. So
Yeah.
situationship is Latin for I think I just wasted 6 months, basically. Yeah.
By the way, Gatekeeping My Pussy is the name of my new comedy album. coming
Excuse
out.
me, we discussed this. Don't steal that from me.
You see, it's a whole theme here. You're going to have to sue me like I'm Ed Sheeran and you're Marvin Gaye's fan.
Oh, I can't
You just
afford that. I'm
Carlos
not Jewish.
Mencia and her gate-kept pussy right there.
the way-
I can't believe we've just seen this.
If I were in the same room as Carlos Mencia, I'd put a brick wall in front of my pussy.
Forget a gate. You need a brick wall. But he's a Mexican. He could climb over it. But anyway.
There you go.
Well, Don, I saw this, and again, well, I do want to get back to the sweater she was wearing. But I thought that there was just like I kind of figured what she was complaining about was just the lines the guys used to convince women to sleep with them, basically.
No, she's talking about post-coital. He's going on about his family drama or childhood trauma, and you think it's turning into something, but then the next time you see him, he ghosts you or he ignores you.
It's also like very one-sided. Like the last guy I was just seeing, he was, if you can imagine it, he talked more than me. Like it was like so like
wow.
him, and like like you're like, oh well, like obviously he's opening up, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, like your BetterHelp subscription just got canceled and you just needed a night.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Don, do these guys just need a therapist as opposed to a one-night relationship?
It probably feels like that to some women, but I was just going to comment because Bill is as obsessed with the sweater as I am. When you look like that, there's no such thing as ill-fitting. When you look like Ed Sheeran and those trousers that he was wearing, that's ill-fitting. So I don't even know half the stuff she said. But I agree. I don't. On either end, I don't like when somebody it just comes pouring out like the super personal stuff right off the bat.
Yeah.
And when I'm out, because I talk for a living, I'd rather have the other person talk more. I don't want to feel like the spotlight's on me to entertain anybody. When I'm off duty, I'm off duty. But I don't. Yeah, I don't want to hear about. When you were 3 years old, what happened to you, with your uncle. Let's wait till the third date at least.
Yeah.
As that, I feel like you date older men than you, Brad. Am I right on that?
Oh, I thought you meant me.
Oh, and Don, yeah.
I did older men who have weird affinities for sweaters they see on TikTok.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
That was
the reason I say that is because I don't think older men do that as much as younger men, but I guess I'm very wrong because that just happened to you.
As somebody who is over the last 6 to 8 months has been very active on an OnlyFans. Everybody, welcome to subscribe. It's totally free. Love it. Older men do it. Younger men do it. Like I have men that are paying me just so I can like talk to them, like escort stuff. Like
wow.
Yeah. So I just think it's like just when men were like, oh, I can play the field and put my dick everywhere. They were like, I'm gonna do myself one better. I can play the field, put my dick everywhere. And connect and I think it's this weird thing too. Like I think he ghosted her at the party because a part of him can't believe he opened up that much.
Oh.
That's okay. That I definitely buy.
He's almost embarrassed.
Yes.
I think so. And they get kind of weird. And I don't know. That's what I tell myself at least.
No, I absolutely buy that. Yeah, too much too soon.
Life's not like a Hallmark movie where like you're walking through the Christmas tree village with a cup of hot cocoa, and you open up to each other about everything in your life, and then by the third day they're in love, and he decides to leave his big tech job in the big city and move into a small town. That's bullshit. I want to see the sequel to that episode, like 6 months later, and they're still walking through the dumb Christmas tree village, and he's like, this place sucks. All anybody does is talk about Christmas. All right, I'm wearing fucking cargo shorts. Take off the fucking. Put a mistletoe over your box. Let's have some fun here.
I say this feels like as if it is a holiday, and I'm visiting my uncle Don in jail. And I can't. This is the most contact I can get with him, and he's like, "Let me tell you something, kid. Life isn't a cup of hot cocoa in the Christmas tree village."
I agree fully with that statement.
And he's constantly referencing Hallmark movies because that's the only channel they have on in the rec room.
He's still trying to figure out what TikTok is, Joanne. He's like, I haven't heard of that yet.
There's a bigger guy.
He sells sweaters on TikTok.
There's a bigger guy in the comment area that's got that Hallmark channel on, and he can't change it. He knows the hierarchy.